We have to move at Forward Church from fear to faith. We cannot accomplish what God's called us to do in this community as long as we have fear involved, period. And so we come to Christ, but we still live in fear, like fear of financial downfall, fear of what people will think, fear of all these things, when God called us specifically to say, hey, here's the deal. Walk by faith and don't think about anything else. Just trust me, period. We cannot do both. Fear and faith are on polar opposites of the spectrum. We either have one or we have the other, period. We cannot possibly acquire all that God has for us in our lives if we live our lives day by fear. I've said before, the difference between people who God uses in this world in a mighty way and people who just kind of exist through life for no apparent reason is that God will send into our life windows of opportunity, one after another, and the people who God uses in a mighty way and who do something radical in this world for his kingdom are the people who see those windows cross and they dive through them and say, you know what, I'm afraid, yeah, it's hard, and look, it's a financial risk, or it's this or it's that, but I'm going to jump through it anyway because I know that God is faithful and I can do that. Everyone who we've run into in this community has those windows of opportunity crossing by their path right now as we speak. And the question is, will we jump through that window of opportunity? For some of you, it may be that first window of opportunity where God has brought us to this community and given you the gospel in a way that you can understand and hear it, where it's not lofty, it's not religion, but it's right here, street level, where we're hanging out all week long. And this window of opportunity is crossing your life where you can jump through and experience God firsthand. Not religion, not church, or any of that flakiness, but this window where you can truly see your life transformed. And the way that things have always been, whether that's alcoholism, whether that's anger, whether that's bitterness to the past, whatever it is in your life, this window of opportunity is crossing where you can take it and you can dive through it. Even though you're afraid, I'm afraid to stop drinking, or I'm afraid to do this or that. This is just the way it's always been. We can literally release the past, seize the day, and press forward if we would, despite that, everyone's afraid. All throughout the Bible, the people who God used in a mighty way were all afraid. It was across the board. Noah was afraid to, this whole deal, didn't know what he was building a boat for. It was a drought. People were making fun of him. Moses was afraid to go back into a place where he was wanted for murder to go save his people. Across the board, being afraid is a guarantee. The difference is, despite that fear, will we jump through that window of opportunity and see what God can really do in our lives? Or will we just stand there and watch that window pass and wonder why things aren't getting better, and our marriage isn't getting any better, and our parenting style isn't getting any better, and we're still drunk, and we're still hurting, and we're still angry, and we're still bitter, and all these things because God is sending these windows and these people to open the window for you, and we just keep on letting them pass, digging our feet in the mud, and whining about how dirty it is. We have to, at some point, dive through that first window, no matter how scary it is, and see what God can truly do in our lives. On a spiritual level, I've personally experienced this, that when we go through that first window, that first window of accepting Christ into our life, mind, body, and soul, and completely change how we think. It was funny because when I accepted Christ, he was doing immediate things to show me that this was the reality of the world in which we live. I knew immediately, I was in a prison, and after I had accepted Christ, there were mind, body, and spirit things going on. Mentally, I was still looking at the female COs and all this type of stuff. And I prayed one night, I said, hey God, here's the deal. You're gonna have to take this from me. Because all my life, I've dealt drugs. I've lived in this life where promiscuity and lust and all these things were just part of it. It's part of who I am. You have to take this from me. I can't do it on my own. The next morning, I woke up and a man walked out of his cell. Never talked to this dude in my life. And he walked up to me and he said, God told me to give this to you today. And he handed me a book called Imaginations, which completely and radically changed the way I thought forever. You talk about delivery, he delivered that day. 3 days later, I'm fresh in Christ, and I'm sharing like, you don't understand. Christ came to my bunk, and this is the reality of what's happening in my life. And I'm telling people, and they're like, dude, this prison phase, whatever. But I'm still smoking cigarettes in there, right? And so I say to God again, I've been smoking since I was 15. This is so deep in my body as an addiction. If you really want me to quit this, you have to take it from me, period. My name is called over the loudspeaker. And I go to the front, and the man at the desk says, "Hey, Jeff, you're being transferred to Ohio State Penitentiary," which happened to be the only non-smoking penitentiary in this state. So like, you talk about God, he was delivering on all counts. You know what I mean? And because these things were happening, it helped me to slowly but surely change our spirit.